Hello and welcome back to the Glasshouse Festival, Poetry from Around the World. It gives me great joy to acknowledge the over 100 poets that have decided to walk with us on this journey to try and raise awareness and funds for creative people who've been negatively impacted by COVID. The Glasshouse Festival is wholly promoted by the Art Mantram Trust, a not-for-profit organization that's been promoting the arts, artists and art awareness since 1999 in one guise or another. Our next session is called Our Songs Came Through from the Norton Anthology of Native Nations Poetry, coming out in November. United States Poet Laureate Joy Harjo has gathered the work of more than 160 poets representing nearly 100 indigenous nations into this first historically comprehensive native poetry anthology. We're very pleased to be presenting here 8 poets from that anthology, including 2 of the editors who worked on it, Leanne Ho and Jennifer Elise Forrester. Joining them are Deborah Miranda, Tanaya Winder, Kimberly Blazer, Tacey City, Roberta Hill, Seda Siegel, and our moderator, Jennifer. Taped for you here are readings from each poet, which will be followed by a live panel discussion in our Zoom webinar room. If you haven't yet registered, please take the opportunity to do so on bit.ly/GHF20 while you're enjoying the work created by the poets here. I look forward to seeing you later. Bye-bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Tanaya Winder. I'm Duckwater Shoshone, Pyramid Lake Paiute, Southern Ute, Dene, and Black, and I'll be sharing some poems with you. Learning to say I love you. My favorite conversations are with my grandmother while she teaches me words in Indian as she says, I ask, how do you say, where did you go? And where are you going? Questions that layer my tongue in ash, reminding me of fire, the taste. Each time I speak, the slow burn of every loss I have witnessed cracks my lips. Go and going axe singed into my bones, so I ask, teach me, I'm coming with you. So it sits rock heavy in my mouth, because my tongue is at war with history. Boarding school, kill the Indian, save the man, acts of colonization, strain pronunciation. When I want to say, take me with you, it dissolves. Before I can stomach the sweetness of language, hours, I'm losing. I am lost, lodged somewhere in my throat between decades of broken syllables. Teach me how to reach the ones who are born already running. Teach me how to talk to the ones who need it most. Dear universe, gift me words that linger softly like dusk. There must be a phrase to contain wherever you go, whether or not you know where you've been or where you are going. This next poem I'm going to read is called The Milky Way Escapes My Mouth. Whenever 2 lips begin to form your name, I cough stars lodged deep within my lungs. They rush from tongue weighted in dust, words I didn't ask, where are you going? Or notice the blank spaces in your breathing as you slept. They say the more massive the star, the shorter the lifespan. They have greater pressure on their cores. Yours burns so brightly, I should have known you'd collapse. Disappear into image, a black hole dissolving trace amounts. I am left stargazing. 5 times a day for years, catalog phrases, chart each word, label every facial expression. Telescope until my eyes bleed, constellations, even then I can't navigate my way into understanding. Light years, how we let darkness slip in. Is it madness to wonder if it ever really happened? You, a shadow never leaving until I inserted continents between us. I lost you in the crevice between night and day. You died while I was sleeping, dreaming of a galaxy far, far away, where love eclipses. A rising tide of longing fills my body, bones, the ribs, sheltering the cave within me, echoing. Each night, I open mouth sky wide to swallow stars and sing to the moon a story about the light of two people who continue to cross and uncross in their falling, no matter how unstable in orbit. This last poem I'll share is called When the Stars Fall from the Sky. Say we begin in surrender, spiraling through loss still sleeping in our bones. I once heard a creation story about coyote falling from the blanket of the sky, unable to keep pace, keep time. Why did we grow up learning to wish on anything that falls? Say it is possible to invite our demons to dinner, ask if they prefer to pray before or after. We eat, we feast, pull up a seat next to our wounds, listen to them fight over who came first. As if a rupture chooses how it wants to break, as if a scar decides how it wants to come undone. At the dinner table, your belly swells with rage as if to say healing is pain demanding a seat at the table, as if to remind you you cannot forgive your ghosts until you stop grieving them. Tell me it's possible to drink in constellations, savoring each star east to west. Tell me when the stars fall from the sky, we'll still be able to find our way back home.
Ja, de sé Sonny edal inad se jinne. Sinna habitlín isle tchatna sani bashish chin tchabahid a se chero hashkaha zora chanele a kot ow jinne of san isle. Hi, my name is Tacey. It's City. I'm coming to you from Kirtland, New Mexico. It's near the Navajo Nation. It's a border town where I grew up. And this first poem that I'm going to read is the title poem to my book, Rain Scald, which came out in 2018 from the University of New Mexico Press. Rain Scald. When standing in rain for so long, you no longer hear or feel it falling. You believe it's stopped. Step away. Look to your skin. Muck itch. It's a shame. Your hands have gone bald from fungus, taking you to what's beneath scab, to one of those nights when you know your gums will bleed. To say it's been a while or it has to do with wrist mange is to say rot comes so easily now. Skin weep, lapse, step through the whole black of your home and still know damp, know exactly when to bend your finger for the light switch. So familiar in a bod, shame, your hands have gone haywire, taking you to what's beneath rust, ranges they've grazed, a time when you're combed through, when you know your knuckles and all that rain has swallowed. This next poem is from a new manuscript. The poem is called Sonnet for My Wrist. I tend to mistake your ribs for a hand towel. It hangs on a nail above the wash bowl, the hand towel ripped. There's something wearing about the end curve of thread. When I sleep, I keep my palms open. Verve. We were lovers in a field of gray. In Navajo, we say something rote, all radical when you hurt me something close. Even you waft, it's best I tether, forget flyaways I plucked. My bones, they lie to me like fray, like gaunt. I don't crawl back for fragments, even a spinal cord of sinew. It's not going to close. You rope me from stray to grip. It's all for naught. I'm born for my father, tangle people, our mouths in webs. Tonight my wrists part, and you chase my insides until they dangle into pieces. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Forrester. I'm going to read one poem from the Anthology. It's called Relic. An atlas on the underside of my dream. My half-shut eyelid, a black wing. I dipped sharp quills in the night's mouth. Moths swarmed from my throat. I pulled a feather blanket over my skeleton and woke. A map of America flapping in the dark. Once I dreamt of inheriting this. My mother, who still follows crows through the field. My sister's small hand tucked inside hers. Me on her breast in a burial quilt. That was from my first book, Leaving Tulsa. And I'll read two poems from my second book, Bright Raft in the Afterweather. Touring the Earth Gallery. Chicks, dead in a once teeming reef, and a mother bird scouring ghostly coral. We dozed, broke our machines. Extreme heat, intensifying rain will bring the island state's collapse, a fast decline of seagrass. Our time period is one of glacial isostatic adjustment. In the third chamber, dust, daily rearranged into pastoral scenes. Beach strewn with radioactive crustacean. The woman at repose with the sea behind her. Note that it is not the woman's figure that is kinetic, but the structures above her. Fugitive lightning, skeleton of a dodo bird. There, where a poet scrapes her tail across tundra, see the sand blowing over her last regret. She dips her quill into a pigment jar, scrawls her forecast across the clouds. Neon blue antlers, cellular squid. Smacked into glass that resembled the sky, a sparrow sleeps on its side in the dirt. Yellow feathered, wind stuffed. The last poem in the book is called Hokdalwa's Crow. Hokdalwa is a Muskogee word for an older woman, an elderly woman. Hokdalwa's Crow. There were still songbirds then, nesting in hackberry trees, and a butterfly named Question. I remember ivy trembling at the vanishing point of your throat. Then the timelines crashed. California split into an archipelago. Orchards withered under blooms of ash. Now there is no nectar, no rotten fruit. The air is quiet. Once in Russia, ornithologists trapped a population of hooded crows, transported them 500 miles westward. Winter came. They never caught up with their flock. With crusts of calcified algae, we catalog each day lost. Hot thermals, cirrus vaults, fistfuls of warblers hurtling into dark. There was no sound to the forgetting. We knew the heart would implode before the breath and lungs collapsed, that the world would end in snow. An old woman walking alone, empty birdcage strapped to her back. Thank you for listening.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. My name is Cedar Saigo, and I'm a member of the Suquamish Nation. And I just want to thank Jennifer Forrester and Joy Harjo, of course. And I thought I would start with two of my poems that are going to be in the Norton. They're from a book titled Language Arts, published in 2014. After self-help. All my rooms are alien. Towers of books tilt and crumble at the least extended breath. A matinee beyond recall. Brown birds, pale-breasted, darting through. Too late, hello, later. Kiss the lights and they change out over the stardust. Cities are huge machines for sorting poets, skating down the cellophane and folded hills. Even cast-off lines have their own pull and rhyme. Man at leisure, ripped out of my mind, lonesome after mine own kind. Hot black, soft white, warm reds. Mine a thinking man's cartoon western, mine the one who enters the stories. Mine the evergreen tears brushed with coral, the boat in the box is mine, and mine the full sky. And a small secluded valley. Your portraits are all thin Indians, half their faces edging out the fog, where sparks rain onto our temple, where I enter to write the names of my poems for the night, Daybreak Star and the Sun, both of which I never got around to, for want of love and allegiance in every second. My regrets you interrupted, offset in the kind light as a crown. Evans walking around, sounds behind a closed door. Nice to see you, to walk a bit and stop, as on a river, its lava shut under in a tunnel of love. Regardless, the visions hike up overnight and flames trail off like the finest spider's thread, slipping my mind. Okay. And I'll read some newer things as well. This is just called the Harry Callahan poem. And I just used some photographs by the great Harry Callahan to kind of spark a poem. In fact, almost to weight the impulse to write down. I used these images and the mind would just kind of go springing off of those. And then another image would kind of ground the poem, these photographic images. Harry Callahan poem. The poems are so minimal because the garden is part of them. Mirror left in a meadow of seagrass. The lights point their own way out in tiny stabbing gestures, desperate devil at the end of a crowded field. Just his head with both arms held over as one. Shadows break to fake a moment, the rest pass. Cold lake water, eye level behind a screen of winter trees. Venus left lying on a white blanket, green intrepid ferns, or standing nude before the backlit blinds. Exquisite doorways comb the sand into pattern, the evening sun and well-worn brick. My flowers hang from a ceiling of leaves. And this one starts with a line by the poet Amiri Baraka. It's called Old Money. Like death riding on top of the car, a cyclops peering in, cage handy, hallowed light split upon the main tower. Underneath cached homeless faces, clenched and bloodied by oncoming new classicists, who are in fact ciphers, gatekeepers, co-signers, he said. Queens throwing the master's switch. Their powers dissolve like wet paint to concrete houses, dead sky blue. The mirror stained darker inside. Occasional spray paint with silence and empty storefronts grinning. An orange light dying down the street too. And this is titled Solarium. Uranium-tinged, black opal-like truth. We demand the end of money as poetry demands unemployment, always in deference to the received, freakish over imagined conduct, nightmare alleyway. It's the signature tick, the demon guardian you must slide past with your tongue, that morphs as you age. Sometimes writing is waiting for a panel of clouded glass to come clean. Did I dream Sophie Tauber art as a silhouette sweeping a pile of Swiss francs? I remember asking workers to remove microphones from the round room, big mistake, which the gallery may have taken as a traditional choice. Colossal visions twitch, imposing variation in rhythm, the forest through the city and back. What if I am already dead, calm and feeling undivided? I will have to begin to make art in the old ways, to even fake at breaking even. And this one is called All This Time, and it's dedicated to the poet Ed Berrigan. All this time. Wake up, feel around for shoes, sit warm at the wooden table. Write a tower of praises, oblations, in cold steel type, in praise of Ed Berrigan Industries, its massive sign tilting over, 17 reasons why, now taking off. The crypto liquid metal skeleton still shows under patches of torn Ankylosaurus stickers. We once got trapped in Mark's painted side shack illuminations, back when Jack held the most titles. I feel much tractor about things now, and selected poem. I feel Longhouse Needles Point Icarus shoes, sloppily painted plates stapled into a set. A coliseum for playing out music and poetry's distortions, a kind of signing off repeatedly, all this time. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Deborah Miranda. I have a few poems for you. The first one is I Am Not a Witness. I am not a witness. I found coyote, eagle, and momoy in a book, but cannot read the Chumash words. I found photographs of bedrock slabs pocked by hundreds of acorn grinding holes, but the holes are empty. The stone pestle that would curve to my grip lie dead behind museum glass. Mountains and rivers and oaks rise in Spanish accents. San Gabriel, Santa Ynez, Robles. These are not real names. Some of our bones rest in 4,000 graves out back behind the mission. Some of our bones are mixed into mud to strengthen cool, thick walls where smallpox and measles came and stayed. Some of our bones washed down the river, whose name I do not know, past islands I cannot name, to the sea where I have never sailed. Mixed blood, I lay claim by the arch of my eyebrows, short nose, dark hands. I am not a witness. I am left behind, child of children who were locked in the mission and raped. I did not see this. I was not there. But I am here. Where is the place that knows me? This next poem is called Mesa Verde, after the place in the Southwest. Mesa Verde. The earth is salmon-colored here, cracked into plates like the shell of a giant turtle. It is a place I've seen in a dream. Our faces tingle with the heat of sun, the fiery way we look at one another. When we drive down the steep road back to the highway, you stop the car so I can gather a stalk of some rosy blossom, unknown, unidentified. Your hands gently cup the waxy petals, fingers outlining leaves as if you know how to stroke color and scent, coax forth a name like a blood secret. The aroma of honey, nectar, hangs in the dry air. Tiny gold ants crawl on the hairy stem, seek the deep center, enter it. As we drive on, I leave the branch behind. The ants will find their way home, carrying a burden so sweet it needs no name. A story to tell about being taken up, removed, finding the intricate paths back. My last poem is called Offerings. At dawn, the songs begin again, as if never sung before, as if the jet stream has not wandered from its path. The Arctic ice shelf does not melt at accelerated rates. Sudden oak death does not leapfrog across the continent. Shenandoah Valley songbirds lean into the indigo air as if 2,000 snow geese did not fall from the sky in Idaho. 10,000 sea lions are not washing up dead in the Channel Islands. Train tanker cars full of chemicals never crash into the Kanawha River in West Virginia. As if California's Central Valley agriculture is not pumping 20,000-year-old water out of ancient aquifers that cannot be refilled. These song warriors pitch mourning as if the territorial prayers of robins keep bee colony collapse disorder at bay, as if crows stitch each torn morning together with their black beaks. Mockingbirds know the secret combination of notes that command God's ear. The low coo of mourning doves weaves feathery medicine. They persist as if pine warblers, flash of gold in treetops, coax the sun up by degrees, as if these musical beings don't know the word extinction, as if, knowing it, their silvered melodies insist, like the yellow warbler, sweet, 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 little more sweet. Thank you.
Bonjour, Kim Blazer, Indigenous Kaz, Anishinabe Kwe and Dao, Gawa Babi Boni Kab and Dunjaba. I'm Kim Blazer. I'm Anishinabe from the White Earth Nation of Minnesota. And I'm here with you today in Minnesota. I'm delighted to be here to help celebrate when the light of the world was subdued, our songs came through. The songs, the poems in this wonderful Norton anthology of Native poetry celebrate place, they celebrate history, and they celebrate spirit. I was one of the contributing editors on the anthology. I worked on the Northeast Midwest section and wrote the introduction for that part of the book. tonight I'm going to share with you 2 of the 3 poems I have in the anthology. And I wanted to be here by the water because the first poem actually draws upon the Anishinabe creation myth, which has to do with the earth diver who dives down into the water and brings up grains of sand from which we build our turtle island. And the poem itself on the page is in Anishinabe and English, 2 languages side by side, and the visual is of a water animal diving into the water. And here is, in my own book, Copper Yearning, a visual that goes with it, which is actually a picture of a muskrat, but intends to suggest that sort of dreamy water animal of myth. So besides being about the story, the creation story, it's also about the ongoing creation that we participate in. Dreams of water bodies, Wajushk, small whiskered swimmer, you, a fluid arrow crossing waterways with a simple determination of one who has dived purple deep into mythic quest. Belittled or despised as water rat on land, hero of our Anishinabe people, in animal tales, creation stories, whose tellers open slowly, magically, as within a dream, your tiny clenched fist, so all water tribes might believe. See the small grains of sand, only those poor few, but they become our turtle island, this good and well-dreamed land where we stand in this moment on the edge of so many bodies of water and watch Wajushk, our brother, slip through pools and streams and lakes, this marshland earth hallowed by the memory, the telling, the hope, the dive of sleek whiskered swimmers who mark a dark path. And sometimes in our water dreams, we, pitiful land dwellers, in longing recall and singing, make spirits ready to follow. Bakobi, go down into the water. Migrech. So the second poem, I'm going to adjust this a tiny bit for light. There we go. The second poem that I want to perform for you actually alludes to the dark aspects of Indigenous history, removals and scorched earth campaigns, but it also suggests something about our survival in the midst of resistance. And I'd like to offer it for all of you who work tirelessly for change. Apprentice to justice. One more time. There we go. Sorry. Apprentice to justice. The weight of ashes from burned out camps. Lodges smolder in fire, animal hides wither, their mythic images shrinking, pulling in on themselves. All incinerated fragments of breath, bone, and basket rest heavy, sink deep like wintering frogs, and no dust bowl wind can lift this history of loss. Now fertilized by generations, ashes upon ashes, this old earth erupts. Medicine voices rise like mists, white buffalo memories, teeth marks on birch bark, forgotten forms tremble into wholeness. And the gray, weathered stumps, trees and treaties cut down, trampled for wealth, flat potlatch plateaus of ghost forest raked by bears soften, rot inward, until tiny arrows of green sprout, rise erect, root-fed from each crumbling center. Some will never laugh as easily, will hide knives silver as fish in their boots, hoard names as if they could be stolen as easily as land, will paper their walls with maps and broken promises, scar their flesh with this badge heavy as ashes. And this is a poem for those apprenticed from birth. In the womb of your mother nation, heartbeats sound like drums, drums like thunder, thunder like 12,000 walking, then 10,000, then 8, walking away from stolen homes, from burned out camps, from relatives fallen as they walked, then crawled, then fell. This is the woodpecker sound of an old retreat. It becomes an echo, an accounting to be reconciled. This is the sound of trees falling in the woods when they are heard, of red nations falling when they are remembered. This is the sound we hear when fist meets flesh, when bullets pop against chests, when memories rattle hollow in stomachs. And we turn the sound over and over again until it becomes fertile ground from which we will build new nations upon the ashes of our ancestors, until it becomes the rattle of a new revolution, these fingers drumming on keys. Miigwech for your attention. I'm grateful to be here with you virtually, and I hope someday that we may meet in person. Please be well and take care of yourself.
Hi, I'm Leanne Howe, and I'm an enrolled citizen of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. I'm going to read from my new book that's set in Oklahoma during the 1918 flu pandemic. This poem is about my grandmother and her husband who contracted the 1918 virus, and he died and she lived. And so this is called 1918 Union Valley Road. 1. Maybe it was while reading the 1918 Union Valley Bulletin, a political handbill given John Hoggett by a hacking cougher at the feed store. Maybe it was the sour apple gone mahogany black that he'd eaten from his wife's cellar stash. He knew he should have given the apple to Trudy, their hog. Maybe it was the 6-mile walk to and from his father's farm in Stonewall, Oklahoma, just to ask, "Need help with that heifer, Pop?" Maybe it was the burning, tingling, running over the top of John's head, as if he was being roasted alive, filling him with fear. He coughed into his fist. "No. Iva, honey, lock the gate so the Crowder boys can't steal our cow." He coughed into his fist. "No. Iva, honey." He coughed into his fist. Iva, so cold. Winds like a siren whipped the junipers outside, maybe 90 per. He swayed left and then right and onto their Jenny Lind bed, a wedding gift. Coveralls still on. 2. Shocked into consciousness by sunlight, Iva supports herself with her arms and leans forward. Eyes mucus glued. Has she been crying in her sleep? The bed is cold, the stove out, her long black hair matted by high fevers. In her dreams, the sound of a gurgling brook. She looks at John, her teeth chattering. He is completely blue now. She presses on John's chest. Blood and mucus slip between his blue lips. Breathe, John. Breathe. Don't worry. I gave our baby to your sister, Yuda. Yesterday, the day before, maybe last week, but she's safe. Didn't make a sound, just wave. Bye-bye, bye-bye, Mommy. Like you, she doesn't complain. Like you, she's more Irish than Cherokee like me. Breathe, John. Breathe. Take a breath, John Hoggett. How many times, John? Iva curls up by his side, played out. Who hast never bruised a living flower, she whispers. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to take. Breathe, John. 3. The sun is yet a rumor. Iva sleeps like the dead until she doesn't. On the third day, she feels herself rising, everything a moving cloud. She observes herself in the mirror, washes her mahogany cheeks. That's odd, she thinks. Lock the gate, John, or the Crowder boys will steal our cow. She coughs into her handkerchief. John, honey. She coughs into her handkerchief. John, honey. She coughs into her handkerchief. Hear me. Yes, Iva. You live in unmeaning dreams, he says. The grave is ready. John, honey, stay. I washed your Sunday shirt, hung it on the line to dry. We can bury our faces in summer laundry, taste the scent of sun in a field of light, breathing as one. Stay. 4. Iva is dreaming again. She hears his name, John. The sound like a bell on her tongue. John, on, on, breathe. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Forrester. I'm the author of 2 books of poetry, Leaving Tulsa and Bright Raft in the Afterweather. I'm a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, and I live in San Francisco. I am pleased to present this panel, Our Songs Came Through Native Nations Poetry, for the Glass House Festival. We are grateful to Art Mantram Trust for inviting us to participate in this panel. Several years ago, the poet Joy Harjo, who is a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation and is now the United States Poet Laureate, set out to create an extensive anthology of poetry by writers of Native nations from the United States. While many anthologies exist, Joy Harjo's vision was for one that would span several centuries of writing from among our Native nations up until our most contemporary poets, to show the breadth and depth of our literatures. And thus, the forthcoming anthology, When the Light of the World Was Subdued, Our Songs Came Through, was conceived. To do this, she gathered a great number of us poets to help her with the curating. The poets on today's panel are just a few of the contributing editors whose vision helped to bring this anthology of Native voices to fruition. I'd like to open this panel with some words from Joy Harjo's introduction to the anthology. Many who open the doors of this text arrive here with only stereotypes of Indigenous peoples that keep Indigenous peoples bound to a story in which none of us ever made it out alive. It is the intent of the editors to challenge this, for you to open the doors to each poem and hear a unique human voice speaking to you beyond, within, and alongside time. The collection represents the many voices of our peoples, voices that rang through time across many lands and waters. May all readers of this anthology bear a new respect for the unique contributions of these poets of our Indigenous nations. Thank you, Joy. Reading for us today are the poets Tenea Winder, who is Duckwater Shoshone, Southern Ute, and Pyramid Lake Paiute; Tacey Atsidy, a member of the Navajo Nation; Cedar Saigo, who is Suquamish; Deborah Miranda, member of the Ohlone Costanoan Esselen Nation; Kimberly Blazer, who is Anishinabe and an enrolled member of the White Earth Nation; Leanne Howe, who is Choctaw and served as the anthology's executive associate editor; and the Oneida poet, Roberta Hill. I encourage you to read their bios and learn about their books and work, and to keep your eye open for this soon-to-be-published anthology from W.W. Norton. It has been a great honor and pleasure for me to participate in the making of this anthology as associate editor, and to work with so many poets of so many Native nations who are my teachers and my friends. I am grateful to be able to bring some of this powerful poetry to the conversation of this dynamic festival this evening. Thank you for listening. 2, 1.
I am Roberta Hill. I'm reading from my third collection of poetry, Cicadas, New and Selected Poems. And the first poem, I'll read 2 poems. The first poem is Where I Come From, and it was written in a response to a quote from Lucy Lepard when I was reading one of her works. She said, even Native peoples who have been here 25,000 years were probably immigrants from Asia. And it seems we have to always be from somewhere else. And so this poem is a reaction to that. Intricate energies of our roots on Turtle Island have supported us. It's difficult to accept how long we've been here. In the pulse of my daily life, ancient spirits send sunlight winking through leaves. With horns of wisdom and feathered arms, they travel swiftly, dazzle me, and lift my sorrow. Intimate with earth, this earth, we pay attention. In wind blasting treetops before the first summer rain, in the night sky wide with stars, and from those images ancestors pecked into cliffs and onto stones. These spirits come to quicken us with a presence as unsettling as mountain shadows. I come from the red earth of Turtle Island. This earth has always been our home. My ancestors were not immigrants from Asia. 25,000 years ago, they didn't trudge over the Mackenzie Corridor in search of more woolly mammoths. The one who gives us life, mind, and blood has enclosed his vision and breath in our bodies, so we might add to this beauty. We were not created to atone for some long ago mistake. We were not made to beg from another's bowl or to control the ancient energies of earth. The one whose beauty drifts in clouds, whose voice rises from the thrush in its tangle of brambles, whose power attracts us to the sigh and surge of the sea, asked that we add to this beauty and be grateful for each day. We are glad we still remember how to make with our hands, our eyes, our voices, these forms, these visions, these songs. And the next poem I'm going to read was written for my stepdaughter, Heather Whiteman, because she liked to powwow. And I was thinking about powwows, which actually are a cultural form that grew out of warfare as a response to being chased by the cavalry. And so it's called the powwow crowd. Punky invisibles dance, germ, mold, and virus, quark and radical ray spin in cycles beyond our measure. Peer at them playing, and they find a grand entry song you expected. Familiar elements dance, soil and water, fire, rock and air, flash and glitter without four flags. Although they're solid to our senses, their leaping stretches wider than our love. Plants taught us to dance, fern and rush, herb and flower, elm and moody willow, reach subtle rhythms in the wind, team dancing with each greening cycle of the earth. Grouse and bear, trout and human being dance to endure. The oldest prayers, a drum we hear in the summer sunlight. With its beat, we honor the lightning in our blood. Planets also powwow, Earth and Moon, one in blue fringe, the other yellow, kickstep with a clever wobble. Jupiter struts among his moons, while Venus jingles round in solar wind. The sun, a fancy dancer, balances, then swerves his flares on this rim of whirling stars. Differences delight him in his timeless trance. Any comet coming in, he'll bring along. See the edge of it at midnight, a skirt woven with multitudes of stars. Serpent skirts, harmonic hum, quickens all the dancers, releasing them from contradictions. I believe the other galaxies join in until it's like the powwows down in Stroud. What are nebulae but smoke drifting from campfires? The drum is far away, but they sing so loud it booms in the center of my chest. Thank you very much for inviting me. I feel very honored.